QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022 OneNote presentation. Generate reports after entering beginning balances. Let's get into it with Intuit's QuickBooks Pro Plus Desktop 2022. If you have access to OneNote, would like to follow along, icon left-hand side, topic introductions, 644, generate reports after entering beginning balances tab. Also take a look at the immersive reader tool, topic introductions in the text area too, same name, same number, but with transcripts. Transcripts that can be translated into multiple languages and either listened to or read in them. Same name and number as presentations as well. Topic introductions designed to give an introduction to the topic, provide screenshots, links where applicable, give accounting background to complement the presentations, and can be used to follow along with presentations if you don't have access to the software at that time. Closing the icon on the left-hand side, we're starting out with the screenshot of the home page. Moving on down to the Report Center, which you can find by going to the Reports drop-down, Report Center. We're looking at the account and taxes here. We're looking at the transaction list by date. So when we're thinking about the reports at the end of entering our beginning balances or at the end of any period, often useful reports are going to be, of course, the balance sheet, the income statement not being as applicable here because we just entered the beginning balances, nothing yet into the income statement accounts until we start entering data into the current period. And then the other report often useful is the transaction list by date, because that can give you an account of what you have put into the system, can be a very good tool for reviewing people, reviewing staff, or reviewing kind of a homework if you're in an instructor type of situation. It can also be a report that you could use to base your billing on, as well as it gives you the transactions that have been put in place. You might then put your billing process based on the number of transactions, for example, and be able to count those transactions. So here's our transaction list by date. This is what we have done. Note that most of what we have done is basically going into each of the accounts and enter the opening balances. And when we could not do that, such as accounts payable, accounts receivable, and inventory, going into the customers, vendors, and items, entering the opening balances there. The types, though, that QuickBooks set up are going to be the inventory adjustment type of form. So note that even though we entered actual inventory items, they use the inventory adjustment form because that's the form to adjust inventory. Invoices were used when we put in the balances for the customers because invoices are used when we increase the accounts receivable. A bill was used when we put the amount in for the vendor because bills are what QuickBooks uses in order to increase the accounts payable. Deposit was used when we entered the opening balance into the checking account because deposit forms are what is used to increase the checking account generally. And then the general journals are what are going to be used when there's no other form that will typically be like the default form. So when we increased furniture and equipment, accumulated depreciation, the loan balance, and the adjustment to opening balance equity, there is no default form for those actions. And therefore, if there is no default form, the last form that is used then will simply be a journal entry. We also have the credit card charge, which was increased and used when we entered the balance into the credit card because that's the form that will typically be used when doing that. So here's going to be our trial balance. So our trial balance looks good as of January 1st, 2022. That's going to be our starting point. Beginning balances are all in place and we're ready to move forward. Note that there are no income statement accounts because we want to start fresh with just the balance sheet accounts and move forward from that time forward. Anything from the prior period and the timing information from the prior period would be in the prior accounting system. That would be the idea. So if I was to run the profit and loss for the year 2022, nothing is in it. If I ran it for 2021, we would have that uncategorized income and expenses, but we're not worried about those for 2022 because the cutoff date is as of January 1st, 2022. We want all temporary accounts to be zero at that point so that we can start fresh going forward from that time. The balance sheet looks like this. So now it looks just like the trial balance, except we have the added detail here of the account categories. We could export this information now to Excel. So here is our balance sheet exported to Excel. If we wanted to provide this for someone else, we can then put it in Excel. We can also save it as a PDF. So we're done both here. printing it, saving it as a PDF, exporting it then also to Excel. Here is the trial balance that we exported to Excel. So now we have 2 tabs on down below. Then the transaction list, which we can also print as a PDF and export to Excel. If we export it to Excel, it looks like this. We now have these 3 tabs, which can be used for us to then print them all out on one PDF by using a Qt PDF printer or some type of PDF printer, adjusting the worksheet to print out the entire workbook instead of just one worksheet. Now we have 3 pages on down below. If I was to print that out, now this is what we have generated. We've got our PDFs that we took straight from QuickBooks, 3 forms now, trial balance, the balance sheet, and the transaction detail. And then we also made this one PDF from the Excel documents that have the 3 forms in them. If you zip this folder, then you get this zipped folder that you can attach to an email fairly easily, or you can attach this one PDF file, which looks something like this, which has all the forms on it in one PDF file.